funny, like some of these international, because I know you wrestled the Iron Sheik.
Yeah,
from Iran.
up in Minneapolis.
Right?
Yeah, he came over and wanted to see what I was made of.
For those of you who don't know, I mean, if you're not a pro wrestling fan, and if you are a pro wrestling fan, everyone knows who the Iron Sheik was. But back in the day, he was so popular. But yeah, he was a professional wrestler.
And he showed up at one of my practices and wanted because he was a good amateur wrestler too.
He's good.
Yeah, and so. He just wrestled me for about 30, 40 seconds and said, stop. That's all he wanted. He just wanted to feel that.
So you didn't wrestle him in a match. You just wrestled him in that match. Yeah, okay.
No, he's big.
Yeah.
No, he wouldn't be my weight class. No, he was a big kid.
This is the Full Tilt Podcast with Hatch.
Dan Gable.
Hello.
How we doing?
I'll find out. If I do a good job on this, I'm doing good. If I don't do a good job on this, then I'm going back to the wrestling man.
I think you're going to be doing just fine. This is man. I tell you what, I get excited about a lot of things I do, but this is like overexcitement. I mean, we talk about somebody here that not only is a legend in their sport, but has been literally, an icon, a legend, a huge influence on my life, and I'm so looking forward to this conversation. It's gonna be amazing.
Well, Mike, I'm trying to figure you out. On the mat, that's one thing because I had you in a room and it was easier to do. But right now, it's like I don't know where you're at.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been bouncing around pretty good.
Yeah.
So I mean, just talking on your career right now, that since you've left the Hawkeyes, and where have you been, and where have you spent the time, and what kind of job you had, and now you're doing a podcast, and so it's I'm trying to figure out, this guy needs a lot of excitement, otherwise he's moving on or something. I'm not sure what it is. Why don't you tell me what it is? Just in a short note.
Yeah, coach is interviewing me.
Why don't you tell me why you're going every place?
I love, I think, the other thing probably know about me, I love people in general. I just love being happy, and I love just life in general. I love traveling. I love meeting new people. I do. And that's just kind of the way I've lived my life.
But you've been from coast to coast.
I have.
Right?
Yeah. But a lot of it's been with the wrestling experiences. And I can actually, really kind of attribute this to you, because when I remember the first time I moved, because I've always been an Iowa guy, and obviously grew up in Cedar Rapids, wrestled for you. And then in 96, I took the job at Durant High School, head wrestling coach and middle school, high school phys ed teacher. And 4 years there, I spent a lot of time back and forth in Chicago, kind of like the little faster, like city life. And I remember I looked at a job in just north of West Palm Beach, Florida, in Stewart. And I came to you about it, and I said, Coach, what do you think? And you're like, well, I don't know. I mean, what are we doing here? I like having you in Iowa. You're doing a good job, and at Durant. I mean, a lot of these things you probably don't, you couldn't remember, may not. And so I said, I think that one. I said, yeah, I do want to kind of experience a different place. I've always lived in Iowa, but I also could do a lot of good for wrestling in other areas of the country. I mean, obviously, Florida, they have really good wrestling down there, but Iowa's Iowa,
Yeah,
so, and I told you that, and you're like, you know what, that's the answer I was looking for. You should go and take that job. So I took that job, and I didn't look back, and I kept kind of working my way up from high school teacher and coach to eventually, getting into the Division I college level. So I was at Chattanooga, Cal Poly, back and forth all over. Back at Chattanooga, I opened up a club here in Nashville, and I'm in Nashville. And I remember our conversations every time I talk to you a couple times a year. You're always asking me, where are you now? Where are you now? Well, that's always a question. So,
right.
Yeah.
I think you just mentioned 6 or 7 places, but I think that's only a half, maybe. I'm not even sure.
Yeah. I think I talked to you the other day. I was in South America.
And you go there for a reason, right?
Yeah, I love the culture there. I love, everything about it.
What is the culture there?
It's very, very, very vibrant. I mean, it's, the people are very, very, they're super friendly. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to lie in any podcast, or I'm not going to lie in any of it. I mean, the women are amazingly beautiful there. And I'm saying, I'm single.
Now I know.
Listen,
I know.
I'm single.
Now I know
no
why
kids,
you've been moving.
So it is what it is, But
you know what I don't like?
amazing.
You know what I don't like about South America is I don't think they have the wrestling like the rest of the world has. You know,
they don't.
They're behind a little bit there. I'm not saying they don't wrestle, but they definitely it's
they got the athletes.
And it's definitely an area that we could explore to expand our great sport as well.
Well, that's what I'm 100% committed to doing that. If you'd like me to do that, Coach,
I would like you to do that, but I don't think you'd get past the girls, and the girls wrestle now, so that's good.
You might be right there, but I was actually looking at space, open up a little wrestling club down there last time. Yeah, so you never know.
Well,
okay. I'll get down for a clinic, and it'll be good.
Well, I think let's see, where's Colombia?
Colombia, South America.
Well, I went there, won the Pan American Games in 1971. So,
really?
Yep. That was where they were.
Yeah, Colombia. That's one of my favorite countries. I absolutely love it there.
Cali, Colombia.
Cali. Oh wow, it's in Cali.
Yep.
Wow. They might have taught you how to salsa dance down there. It's a salsa capital of the world.
I was pretty focused.
Pretty focused.
And I was, I beat the Cuban. I think it was a tough Cuban in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
I think he placed in the world the next year. I think he placed like maybe 4th or 5th, but he didn't. I got first, so he didn't beat me. But he was good. He was real good.
Yeah. Was it different wrestling? I guess you could probably look at like the Cubans being a more like athletic style. Obviously, is that a little bit more difficult? Did that cause you any problems back in the day when you're wrestling? I mean, obviously not, but I mean.
Oh, they were athletes. Yeah, they're definitely athletes. They just most of them wanted to get out of Cuba.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was kind of difficult, but they, in fact, they have a few good people right now, but they've kind of lost the system a little bit, and they're down a little bit, just like a few other countries are down. I mean, Russia's down only because they can't go to the events, and they have to represent somebody else. But they're our top wrestling country for the last 50 years, and along with the other country is Iran, and that they're crazy, politics, and so I mean, I think a lot of people just ended up losing their life, and I'm sure some of them were wrestlers, but because that's one of the most popular sports over there in that country. But anyway, we're still surviving and doing well, but we can't overlook our sport as from a political point of view to make sure that we're always doing something like this podcast. This is really good just because you're in it because of wrestling, and I'm in it because of wrestling, even though I'm a baseball guy now. It's because I have a lot of grandkids that are playing college baseball, 3 of them. And because of that, I'm following baseball. And but I don't forget wrestling. He's talking about it all the time. I'm here doing it today. But and all 3 of them that are playing in college right now are former wrestlers too. But their dads are mostly were baseball players, and that was probably where they spent their time. I mean, I don't know how they could do it, but they went from wrestling practice, which they didn't go from my wrestling practice, but they went from their wrestling practice in high school right to hitting and throwing and catching, stuff like that, year round, or not year round, but during the wrestling season. Because usually the guys that I coach, and that's you, when after a practice, you would probably have to go home and lay down a little bit, and eat and rest the rest of the night. You didn't have really time to go to do another sport because you were too tired.
Yeah.
Because I made sure of that, and that's why we were successful, because they bought in, the boys bought in, and they worked extremely hard, probably the hardest working they ever did in their life, and then the rest of the time they would recover to get ready to come back to practice again, and go to school, of course.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that, because I mean, my years at Iowa from 91 to 96 were so instrumental in really, just in my life and totally, but just where I'm at now and what I've done over the last however many years since graduation. But I remember because I wanted to be a coach, and I knew I wanted to be a coach. So my last 2 years, one of our family friends, Ron Peterson, was the head coach at Cedar Rapids Prairie, and he had approached me and said, "Hey, I know you want to get into coaching. You want to run my kids club?" And I was like, "Shoot, that's during but kids club's during our season at Iowa." He's like, yeah, I mean, we'll just, we'll start practice after you're done with practice. I mean, if it's something you want to do, I know it's not gonna be easy. And I was like, yeah, why not? Sure. Right. So my junior year was the first time I ever coached and ran a club. And I remember talking to you about it, probably in the sauna or something like that. And you're like, what are you doing after practice? I said, well, I'm running a kids club down at Prairie. I got kind of mixed reviews because one of them was just like you mentioned, you're like, wait a second, you're either not working hard enough in practice or I'm not pushing you hard enough if you got time to do that, or you really like coaching. So I'm good with that too. So that was kind of the story at it. And I say that I think it was a kind of a hybrid between the two. Yeah. I mean, there were some nights when I was leaving your practice, I was jumping in my car to drive all the way back to Cedar Rapids. And I was like, wow, this is probably the last thing on my list right now that I really want to do is to go work with these 80 kids we have in the room. But then I get there and and it was pretty fun. It was pretty cool. And it kind of helped me kind of just really kind of, branch my wrestling out. And then, like I said, and then of course you probably don't remember 80% of them because there was so many times I'd always just kind of pick your brain in the sauna as far as different coaching stuff. And it was really cool. So.
Yeah, so you were here at a really good time. When I first got to the University of Iowa, I was an assistant for 4 years, and I was in a learning situation. I probably thought I was going to be heading back to Iowa State, but it didn't take me very long to really realize people are people, and you can have a great time here as well, and you can get them to do things. But I probably was just off. I was just off the Olympic gold, and first time I probably realized that there was girls out there, And so then you're in a college town because when I was in Ames, I didn't hit the bars too much. I didn't look around. I mean, there was probably girls around, but I don't remember any of them. But
not like Iowa City.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure. I mean, the only reason why it's Iowa City was not because there weren't girls around, was because I was actually maybe looking around a little bit. But I had this horse. I had these blinders on, and so it was hard to see them. I mean, I looked at photos of me going to class at Iowa State when they were like filming me for some certain types of films and things like that. And I mean, I was running to class with weights on my ankles, and I was running right by. I had my arms full of books, and all of a sudden I'd run by people, and people would just look at me, and they would kind of whisper to each other, and there were some. Now that I see the film and the photos, there were some good-looking girls looking at me. And it's a good thing I didn't look back, because I might have been a less wrestler, but I didn't notice them. Yeah, I just didn't notice them, yeah.
Well, they probably saw you they're running to class at ankle weights and stuff like that, and books like, I don't know about this guy.
Well.
They'd always take a second fiddle.
But they became to know me.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, they became to know me because I was making some headlines.
That's it.
And in a good way, obviously. Yeah. But no, I'm glad I didn't look around because I ended up with a pretty good one. Yeah. Real good one.
Yeah.
Kathy.
Yeah, she's the best.
And I've been married over 50 years. And so we've definitely had a lot of ups, a few downs. And so it's one of these things that I think by the time you got here, it was, we'd already been winning a lot of national titles, learned how to do that. But I also learned how to celebrate just a little too much between the years of 87 when we got beat, and all the way it took us to 91, I believe, to win again, even though we were in close contention for a championship. There was something missing. I think it was probably towards the end of those 9 straight, maybe number 6, number 7, number 8, number 9. Maybe I was losing a little bit of discipline, and because of that, you just don't get it back. It's a building process. It's a tear down process, and I just felt like once we lost in 86 that it would be like, 87. Excuse me, 87. That it would be the next year, but it's that tear down process that doesn't just automatically come back, because that's how you built it. You built on learning on a little bit more every year, and you get to a level. But if you don't keep at that level and even try to go to higher performances, it's going to be a wear and tear, and it's not going to be that easy to get it back. So that's why you see all these coaches getting hired for somebody that got fired, not just in wrestling, but a lot in football and stuff like that. And they think they're bringing in this super coach, but this super coach is coming in, and he probably doesn't have what he really had when he was a super coach, and he's going to have a process to rebuild it. And that's what happened when I came to Iowa from Iowa State, because Iowa was not Iowa State at the time, and with that, Kurtelmeyer, first-time head coach at Iowa, really taught me a lot about being a coach. He was a head coach at high school, but then he was an assistant here when the head coach McCuskey stepped down and Kurtelmeyer took over. But I had a good mentor right there, really good mentor. And so those first 5 or 6 years kind of remind me of the in-between years that we didn't win back from 87 to 90. And that's when you came in, pretty much. You came in at the time where you were around some good atmosphere. You weren't around the craziness, and which kept us out of the championships. But you were in that building process again. And so it was almost like we were starting over, but we'd already been through it. So I think it was a little easier to get back up, even though it did take us a little while. But we never did drop down much. I think the lowest we ever got, one year we didn't get a trophy, only 1 year of those 4 years in between. But otherwise we were second or third and right there. But, second or third's not going to work when you're winning 9 straight championships. And you don't want it to work ever anyway. You want to always shoot for the top. So, so some of these coaches that don't think they have a chance right now at Penn State, I'll better go back to the drawing board and better refigure what you can do, because that's what excitement's all about, a building process that you build to get up there and challenge, and not only challenge, but you win. And it's not easy, but it can be done. But if you go into that process thinking, we'll never beat these guys. I mean, they got way more population. They got way more kids in the states that are around us. They got a tradition right now, that type of stuff. We're not going to win. Well, you're not going to win either. I mean, you can be good, but it's not like taking on a challenge. It makes you more dedicated, makes you more disciplined, and gives you that opportunity to really see what you can do with your life. And that's been my life. It's never changed. It's never changed. For some reason, back, my mom and dad, went for help a lot to make sure that I had those opportunities. Like when I was young, I went to the YMCA, not just to learn to swim, but to learn how to swim fast and win the state championship in swimming, that type of stuff. But then they had other programs there that were for other sports that you learned as well, and wrestling was one of them. But I think that second phase, the first phase, when I first came to Iowa, then there was a phase where we kind of celebrated too much. And then you were in that next phase that came here, and rebuilding from where we were undisciplined a little bit to getting back to be disciplined and making sure that we were shooting for the top. So you were in that last phase, and I really liked that phase, because there were some really, really good people with good attitudes. I mean, Steiners and the Brands, and you had, then they that was just 4 guys, but they were there was twins, so that made up a lot of the lineup. And you probably, let me think, did you have to beat any of those guys ever out?
I was behind. It's funny. People ask me about my years at Iowa all the time. Because I was just in the sauna today with Tom, and it was, I think Keeter asked me, he said, well, what years were you here? And I said, well, I came in this guy's senior year here. I said, point to Tom Brands. And I said, yeah, I think Coach Gable, at the time, kind of looked and said, yeah, I don't know, I think we're all right at 34. Probably don't need to bring Hatcher out of red shirt yet. And, we'll let Brands wrestle this one. So people
had he already had a credential yet?
Yeah, he was already a 2-time national champ.
Yeah, I think
and I said, I'll let him win the third.
Yeah.
So I said, no, but Tom was the varsity guy when I first came in. And then, of course, course, Bill Zadek and Mark Ironside. And that was in it a little bit. Yeah, I was in there a little bit of transition there with myself and Kevin Hogan. But he was kind of in there a little bit, but it was mainly Bill and Mark. So but yeah, I was in. So I tell people that they're like, wow. Couldn't have really picked a tougher time to go into Iowa wrestling.
Yeah, Kevin Hogan.
You're such a smart person.
Yeah, Kevin Hogan actually really helped our team.
Oh yeah,
because we were gonna get beat in the Big Ten championships, and I think one of the strikers, the little one.
Yep, Kent.
Yeah, he was our starter, but he was kind of missing weight maybe a couple of times.
Yeah,
and so. I didn't let him know, but I brought Hogan along on the Big Ten championships, and it was out east somewhere.
I think this was probably in 93-ish, I think.
It was when the Nationals were in Ames that year, 93.
Okay, yep.
So anyway, when Hogan came along, nobody knew it. I didn't let nobody know he came along. I hit him out because I didn't want Stryker to have a way out.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, that morning, the weigh-ins, I couldn't find Stryker.
Yeah.
And but he's a great guy.
Oh,
all the strikers are great guys.
When I came back for the Penn State match last month, I ran into the Kent Downs, and he's such. I miss him. This is the first time I've seen him in 25, 30 years, and he's such a great person. And Doug's awesome too. The strikers are the best.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, with just it's being prepared. It's one of these things, and so. When we couldn't find him for weigh-ins and going into the Big Ten championships, I just knocked on another door, and of the hotel, and Kevin Hogan opened the door.
Yeah,
I brought him along, but people didn't know it, and I said, "I can't find him. You're in." And this we would have lost the Big Ten championships. It would have stopped our string. At that particular time, it was pretty early, but maybe we had, I don't know how many going. We had quite a few going.
Yeah.
But
you won every year. You're coaching.
Right. But,
so 21 years, 21 out of 21.
Yeah, but we won 25 in a row because we had won two as an assistant and two afterwards.
Okay.
So anyway, I mean, I don't know how many people would have had an extra guy along at that particular weight, but, you see the possibilities and you think it's not going to happen, but you got to be prepared.
Yeah.
And so he went in and scored enough points for us just to win and keep the Big Ten championship going, team championship going. Then we went to Ames for the Nationals, and I'm not sure if he scored too many points, but we kicked butt. We dominated. We did a lot better than we did actually in the Big Ten. So you just brought that up, and I hate to pick on Kent, but and Doug was a wrestling lifer, and Kent has a lot in wrestling, and their family is a great family out of I think Arlington, Strawberry Point.
Strawberry Point.
Yeah, but
great people.
Yeah, so we love them, and it's just that he taught me that sometimes you got to be more than prepared. Yeah. You got to be ready in times of turmoil as well.
Yeah. You mentioned my time and my era there. I mean. It was such a great era to be part of it because, like you said, you mentioned the Brands as the Steiners, and not only that was only our teammates with the Brands is for my redshirt or my true freshman year, and they were seniors. Steiners, obviously they were a little bit younger, so I got a couple years with them, but they all stuck around with the Hawkeye Club. But then you brought in guys like McAravey and Joe Williams and McGinnis and all those guys, and man, it was, and just being around, and people ask, kind of like what the room was like back then, and obviously it was just all just a byproduct of what you built for the whole time you're at Iowa, but it was just basically 35 or so really super competitive people in one room, just scrapping and working hard and trying to be the very best. And some people like myself, I never pretended to be like, oh, I should have been the varsity guy instead of Mark Ironside. Come on. I didn't want to do what Mark was doing. And I was more social director. Yeah. But at the same time, I also, but at the same time, I was an asset to Terry Brands and to Mark and everybody as far as a workout partner, and having a role like that, I think, and also being, competitive enough. It was just a really great time of my life and really, really did a lot for me. And I remember my last year, year or two, you'd come to me a couple times and you're like, hey, so and so reached out to me, about maybe you transferring. I don't know if you're interested in going, just don't know my situation because I was behind Mark, and I was like, I want to be a wrestling coach, so I don't know. You're a pretty good coach, Gable. It's like, I mean, I don't know. I could probably learn a lot from you. So I think I'm going to say I like it, man. This is my home. I'm not going to leave here. I love this place. So
that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. No, I mean, I got yelled at a few times by even the athletes, but I was used to it. I was used to it, and I deserved it, because I mean, McRae called me a liar, Ostendorp called me a liar. They said I said, they would say, hey, Gable, coach, you said we're done after this, and I said, well, we're done with this. We got to go on to that, But boy, I pushed them to a pretty close to breaking point.
Yeah.
But I don't think I ever really broke them because you just don't want them to get broke. But there was many times where they thought they were done and they weren't done yet.
No.
And they called it Gable time.
It was.
And it wasn't the normal clock ticking. It was just a little bit thing that made you win.
Yeah. I mean, listen, because I still this day. I mean, we'll be doing doing something in my club, and we'll all right. We get the sprints. Okay, we'll do one more, and then all of a sudden we'll do another one. One more. Okay, let's do one more. And the kid's like, wait a second, what are you doing? I'm like, listen, I'm not doing anything to you guys that hadn't been done to me the past. So we'll leave it at that.
No, I love the fact that the program was built a really good, solid way. Mm-hmm. And a lot had to do with the people that were here administratively and head coach Kurtelmeyer and stuff like that. But then, we won a whole lot, and then all of a sudden we dropped off a little bit, and then I already had a blueprint from how we built it. So it went back to discipline and attitude and good people, and not that the ones that came in the middle weren't good people, but they came into a different atmosphere. And if they would have had that atmosphere that we had at the beginning and then after them, they probably would have even done better. I mean, it's hard to say for sure, but it wasn't that much of a drop off. It's just that, I think if the guys celebrated a little bit, they might not have closed the bar down. But during that in-between period, I think they probably closed the bar down. And it's pretty difficult to get up at about 4 or 5 hours later when you're closing the bar down. Yeah. So, I needed a little more smarts. And it took a good beating to make me realize that you got to stick to what your guns are, and this is what my guns are. I'm trying to be the champion every year, wanting to be the champion every year, and if you don't pay that price, your chances are less.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, no, it was that was
So you were really here at a good time.
I was here.
I mean, those guys were really kind of like the beginning.
We just had some great leaders in the team.
Yeah. So, see a couple of my grandkids over there, and they're being kind of quiet, but there's 3 of them. But they're good. I got 14 grandkids.
Yeah, that's
I
great.
got 14 grandkids. I get 10 boys and 4 girls. So it's pretty amazing, and that's where I spend a lot of my time now. But a lot of it's in sports.
Yeah.
And their dads were baseball coaches. So and we got some girls playing softball. We got some girls wrestling. And they're doing pretty well. And because of that, I have an opportunity to really have a life, because when you were coaching full time and you had these characters, you had to kind of go down and kick them out of the bars because, that wouldn't have had to happen if you stay on top of things.
Yeah.
I mean, but you really got to stay on top of things. Yeah. And, in life, sometimes you need to feel that type of life. And if you like it, well, so. You stay with that. But I didn't like getting second.
Right.
I didn't, well, because I was used to being the champion and I used to having the team championships. So it was pretty difficult during those time periods, but I didn't really understand for sure a lot of it. But you learn. And because of that, we had a second phase that was kind of like the first phase, maybe even better because they got there even quicker. Once I got the lineup, Zapple, Brands, Steiners, Steiner, Ryland,
Tom Ryan.
Tom Ryan.
Yep. Chelsvig. Yep.
Chelsvig.
Pfizer.
Travis Pfizer,
And then the Big O.
The Big O, Ostendorp.
Yeah.
But you get those type of lineups, and they feed off each other, and they're. I don't think if I would compare, I would say maybe both set of twins between the Brands and the Steiners. I don't know if they've ever had a glass of beer in their life.
No. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
And obviously they wouldn't smoke either.
Right.
But it's just the influence that you have on others when you're a team member and your lifestyle is, well, I think I influence a lot of people with my lifestyle, whether I was at West Waterloo High School or because we won the state championships just about every year. And then when I was at Iowa State, we won just about the national championships about every year. And then we came to Iowa and took a little while. And I took, because it was not just an athlete, now being a coach, but you got to have some of the same principles that you had as an athlete to be good. That dedication, you just have to understand that you're not dealing just with yourself. In fact, you're dealing with 30 people, 40 people, and then you're even dealing with more than that. You got administration, you got the fans, you got to have a lot going for you, and you make sure that you hire good assistants that can give what you don't have, and put them in that area. I think one of the issues with coaches is they maybe try to take on too much, or they try to take on something that they're not as good at as they should be. And they got people around them that could do that, but they just are afraid to give them that little power. And all it does is slow you down if you don't give people the chance to do what they can do best. And so that's my say to that.
Yeah. What? So you mentioned your time at Waterloo West. What was looking back at it? What do you think was the most some of the most influential things with Coach Siddens? With Coach Siddens and how he impacted you?
Well, he was very smart. And by that, I mean, he knew who controlled the kids. And who does control the kids? Usually the mom and dad. So he spent a lot of time getting to know the moms and dads.
Oh.
And so when all of a sudden he had an issue with a kid, whether it be work ethic or academics or just dedication or whatever it is, they would go home and start talking to their mom and dad about it. And mom and dad was always on the coach's side, so they couldn't win. They had a coach that was telling them this, and then they went home and the mom and dad was telling them this, and I learned that a lot because there's always issues. And if you can get two of the three sides working one way, then you can probably solve that issue. And because I'm sure the kids felt that they were going to have all that backing at home. Maybe they even want to quit the team or something. And I did not like that. Yeah. I did not like somebody quitting the team because that was like, for me, it was like a failure.
Yeah.
Now, not that I didn't actually ever kick a kid off a team, but mostly when that kid got kicked off the team, or we let him go, or we told him that was best for him to not be a part of it, he usually didn't go away very long, and came back, and I welcomed that because I think his issue had to be solved, whatever his issue was. And with that in mind, it worked out pretty well to have a team that was a lot of kids liked the same team members. They weren't even like what you just said earlier. That was a great statement about. I mean, you talked about Ironside, and McGinnis, and McAravey and the Brands.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you're in there, and a good coach makes you feel part of that championship team too. I mean, you're just, you know, if there's 10 guys wrestling and there's another 25 on the team, those other 25 have to feel pretty much like those 10, except, you know, they'd like to be the top, but you want them to be the top 10. Yeah. But it's just, you got a lot to build with, to take with if you can stick around. But again, you said it earlier, there has been a few guys that have transferred only because it was mutual respect from each other.
Right.
And usually it was down like the fourth year, third year, fourth year, even the fifth year because of redshirting or something like that. And in fact, we started a whole new program with Iowa Hawkeyes back in the day with Edinburgh.
Oh, yeah.
We had 4 or 5 transfer out, but they didn't transfer out because they wanted to leave. They wanted to wrestle. And then what's kind of interesting was a couple of those guys, I think it was Mike Hassey, another Cedar Rapids kid, you know, that type of stuff. They ended up coming to the Nationals at the same weight, and they placed at the same weight, and we're an All-American. I think it was Alger's weight that
Alger's
year.
weight,
Yeah. And, of course, Alger, he didn't like that 58-pound weight class, but he had Marty Kistler. That was the 67 OW at that national tournament. And, and Alger, he went into that thing with being real sick, too, because he had beaten the national champ that won twice, I think, that year from Ohio State or somewhere. But you gotta, it's hard to win a wrestling match if you can barely breathe.
Yeah, very true, very true.
So anyway,
but you used to have get back to Coach Siddens. I mean, I think didn't he have enough trust in you to give you a key to the? Didn't you have a key to the room, and you'd get all the Waterloo West guys together in the morning and get morning workout in?
I mean, high school started in the 10th grade year. And you didn't have ninth graders then. The smaller schools did, but the bigger schools couldn't have ninth grade in high school. So 10th grade, I mean, he didn't immediately do it, but I went out for football because I was the starting spin back I can't remember what the offense they called single wing or something like that. But and so the football team, coaches wanted me out for football, but I was pretty small. I wrestled 95 pounds that year, but I was a lot bigger than that. I mean, I probably weighed 113, and that was probably the first time I ever cut weight. But and I don't like the word cut weighting. I like to manage weight, but you have to learn through cutting weight to learn how to manage weight.
Very true.
Yeah. So anyway. So Siddens was also the assistant football coach, and so he saw me in there, and he said, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be one of my good wrestlers, and I need a 95-pounder, and I know this kid's got the guts and the determination to be able to cut down there because he's committed, and so I think maybe I better pull him out of football here." He talked to the head coach, and so I would go to football practice and warm up with them, and then I'd go to the wrestling room, and there was to be some other lighter weight guys down there at that particular time, or some other guys that weren't out for football. And Siddens would kind of escort me down there, but then go back to football practice. But no, it was one of these things that you get a good coach, and he can get a lot of things done. Coach Siddens was a great coach. He got a lot of things done, and just like the fact that he got me down to that particular weight class. So then, just tell you how good a coach he is. So I won the states that year at 95 pounds, and then I won the states next year at 103, and then I won the states my senior year at 112. Well, we had another kid on the team that came in from a different grade school, or different junior high, and he was at my weight at 95, and so he was undefeated on JV.
Oh, wow.
His name was Marty Dickey.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Yep. I know the Dickeys. Yeah. So then, all of a sudden, I go to 103 the next year, and he's at 103 too, and we're both undefeated, but he's on JV.
And so I'm getting all the state championship accolades. So then we go to next year, 112, and I grow. So I'm figuring, well, maybe Marty can fit at 112. Well, Marty grew, and he had to go 120. So this was too much for Coach Siddens. He said he called me into the office, and he goes, "Wow, got 2 undefeated guys at the same weight, but one of them's got all the accolades." He says, "Do you think you could cut to 112?" I said, "Whoa, I was planning on going 120." He says, "Yeah, but, Marty, I don't think can make 112.
Yeah.
Don't you think you can make 112?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I can."
Yeah.
And so I got to wrestle 112. I got to wrestle 120 quite a bit of the year too. And then Marty either didn't wrestle or he moved up a weight, but we probably didn't wrestle just because, or he went to JB. But anyway, so I win the state championships again, go undefeated. And Marty was an undefeated JB wrestler, but he's a varsity his senior year at 112. And I don't know if he went undefeated or not, but he won the states.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then I won the states after him.
Wow.
I'm not sure who got the bigger applause.
Yeah.
But I was already done, so I could applaud. I could cheer for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, the Dickeys they're an awesome family. Me and my brother grew up wrestling with Dan and Matt all the way through. They're awesome people. They're really good people.
Oh, they still are.
Yeah. Really good people.
But so that was that story about Marty Dickey, and I tell you, the one thing that I have to give him a lot of credit because one of the reasons we both went to like the college together a little bit, and then he transferred out of there, or he went back to Waterloo, but if it wasn't for Marty Dickey, I probably wouldn't have known that the girls exist. So he really helped me there.
Helped you there?
Too. Oh yeah.
Well, everybody has a role.
Yeah.
Everybody has a role.
Yeah.
I
owed it to him.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, like I said, you went from getting coached by one legend to obviously another one when you committed to Iowa State. With Harold Nichols. And What was that? What was that like? What was that transition like back then? And just wrestling for Coach Nichols, who's obviously a legend as well.
Well, I had Bob Buzzard, who was probably 6 years older than me. Actually, it was East Waterloo kid. His dad and his other brother had wrestled at Iowa State too, Don Buzzard. But his dad, Don Sr., was a good friend of my dad's, and so we had a lot of connections at Iowa State by the time I graduated. And that was probably and they were doing really well. So won the Nationals in '65, and one of the guys that I really looked up to was a guy named Tom Peckham from Cresco, Iowa, and he was there winning national titles too. So I was pretty much the best place for me to go. And so, that's kind of where I went. But he was a lot different in style of coaching. And it really fit into me. I mean, Siddens, we did a lot of 6-minute goes, did a lot of matches in practice. And so it was kind of similar, but we also, did other things as well. But in Iowa State, we did other things. But once we started wrestling after maybe the coaches talk or even some drilling on some certain skills and things like this, we pretty much just no structure. Just you go out, you pick a partner, you wrestle as hard as you want, and as long as you want. And then when you get tired, if you want to sit down, you can sit down. But people kind of thrived off that because you didn't want to be the first to sit down.
Yeah.
And you didn't want to even be sitting down if some other people were out there a lot longer than you. And so, but he could get away with that, Coach Nichols, because he had so much talent in the room, so much talent. And you were learning as much from the talent in the room as you were from the coaches now. And so he basically, like on a basketball court, you'd roll the basketball out to the center and everybody goes out and gets that basketball and plays basketball. And so that's kind of how we practiced day in, day out. Some people have had a hard time because there was no structure.
Right.
And some people needed more structure. And so a good captain, which I was the captain, would help realize that. And a good coach would realize that too. We had a really good assistant named Les Anderson. And he kind of, when Coach Nichols was out there wrestling with the guys, he kind of was going around teaching skills to certain people that needed it. But otherwise, you were wrestling somebody that was a great wrestler. And you were getting a lot out of it just because when you're wrestling somebody very good, you learn. When I first got there, I was a little lighter than him, but Dale Barr, who actually ended up coaching at Iowa State, then he coached at Michigan, from Iowa Falls, freshman year, taught me a lot about that kind of style of wrestling. And he kind of took me under his wing. We were in the same house together on a dormitory. Not dormitory.
So he was among your main training partners.
He was one of them, but he was a little bigger than me because he was wrestling 145, but he probably weighed quite a bit more than that. And I was wrestling 130 my freshman year. And but he was already I think an NCAA runner-up, or that type. But I helped him too.
Could he whoop you back in the day, or you used to get him? Because obviously we've heard stories that you used to just go all through. I mean, Chris Taylor included. I mean, you used to work out them all.
Well, that was later on.
Yeah.
When I got really good.
Yeah.
I got really good because there was guys in the room that could beat me.
Yeah. So there was a freshman transition for even Dan Gable.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I had to realize, and I think I learned. Well, the freshmen actually didn't get to wrestle. No, the freshmen got to go up and go through a transition period of about 3 weeks before the varsity, or vice versa, one of those things. But anyway, the first day that we got to go with the varsity, a lighter weight kind of didn't beat me up. And I wasn't sure who won the practice, but everybody else in the room was sure.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to admit to anything.
Yeah. Of course not.
Yeah, and this guy was a smaller weight.
Really?
And so I'm thinking, what the heck? I mean, so I had to make some transitions right there. I became more. I said, I got to do this a little more. I got to do that, And so I upped my ante a little bit. And that same guy that took it to me probably never took it to me again. I waited about 3 weeks before I asked him to wrestle.
Yeah.
Because he asked me to wrestle the first time.
Yeah.
And he probably knew that he wanted to catch me at a good time because I was going to grow too, and he wasn't going to. But Wallman, Gary Wallman. Yeah. From, I think he's from Dakota, one of those Dakotas. And he was just a strong little dude, and I couldn't ever remember wrestling anybody that strong, that little. I was probably focused on that more than I was wrestling. But I wasn't real. I didn't sleep that night.
Wow.
So I didn't usually go to bed getting my ass kicked. I didn't say that, did I?
Yeah, you did. You can say whatever you want.
I don't mean ass, but I mean I didn't admit to him beating me, but he might have. But I don't think that might have been the last time he ever beat me.
That was it right there.
Because I was, I decided I needed to upgrade.
Yeah.
And it took a month or two, and I was actually up working out with Dale Barr, at that particular time, and I could go with him. But he was such a good rider. He taught me a lot, and I was a good rider too. But he taught me a lot about near wrists and control. And
so he's the one that taught you that. I mean, a lot of
I would say, yeah.
Okay.
I would say that
because I need to know who taught you that stuff, because it provided for a lot of injuries back in the early 90s.
I don't think they did the arm bars like me.
I don't know what it was.
I think I had a lot of arm bars on you.
I keep telling everyone, and this came up on every podcast. And Mark, I mean, he just started laughing because he remembers the day back in our day. There was nobody on the team that wrestled you more often than me. It was. I remember the first time, and you were doing those near wrists, and I was like, "What in the world is going on here?"
Yeah, when I first got to Iowa, after practices, not many people wanted to stay after, but I had this one kid that wanted to stay after a lot, and he was young and he was not really great at that particular time, but because he stayed after for about the first freshman year, he became really great. Bruce Kinseth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was OW.
Really?
He had most pins OW. Well, yeah, he wasn't, he was good, but he made himself good. And through that extra half hour after practice, which, most people would have known if they were going to wrestle me after practice, they would have probably dogged it during practice, but he never dogged it. And so then he got an extra really good half hour, but I don't think he scored too many points during that time period. But he ended up having to wrestle some great people in his career. He's done really well with his life, and I'm dealing with him right now, actually. But he's had to wrestle Mark Chiarella in the national finals. He had to wrestle Dave Schultz.
Wow.
That type of stuff. Him and Brad Smith had a famous tryout one time, and I'm not sure who won, but I think at the end there when I think I remember Brad Smith yelling, "I got two here, don't I?" or something at the end when he took him down, or he didn't take him down. I can't remember, but he was begging for the point. Yeah, I think the score ended up 10-9 one way or the other.
Wow.
And that was when Kinseth was probably a freshman. But by the end of he did. He probably took a few beatings. Well, he took a few beatings by me, but here's a kid that when I recruited him up in Decorah, Iowa, they lived in a mom and dad owned a motel, and he actually was living out of the motel. So he had a room there. So I went and visited him to recruit him, and so when I'm talking to him, he says, I got a wrestling room here, and I go, "You do?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, can you show me the wrestling room?" And he said, "Well, yeah." He got up. You know how in a motel you can open a door to the next room.
Yeah.
So you can. I opened that door. It was a wrestling room. It was wall-to-wall mats.
Really?
And this is where he, so he went from wrestling practice to home. He had a bed there, and he had a restaurant there.
Holy cow!
And his folks lived in the hotel, and he opened the door, and there is a wrestling room. And you wonder why he got second in the nation by the time his junior year. And his senior year, he won the national tournament, and he pinned everybody in the national tournament.
Wow!
So. You wonder why, and it's that type of dedication. So it's pretty cool.
For sure. Yeah, but sorry, I got us off there. I mean, a little bit as far as a tangent, but back in the Iowa State days, when did you start getting good enough to kind of wrestle with everybody in the room? I mean, like I said, that's one of the more fabled stories is that you literally used to wrestle Chris Taylor. I mean, you got the picture right there in your workout.
Yeah, I'd say probably during the middle of my sophomore year.
Oh wow, that early.
Yeah. Well, that's a long time.
Oh.
Yeah,
I mean, wrestling a guy that's 300 plus pounds.
Well, I don't know I don't know if he was there then. Probably took another year of growth yet. Because I wrestled 130 my sophomore. Actually, I wrestled 37, except for the tournaments at the end of the year. I cut down, and again, why did I cut down? I wasn't planning on it. I was going to go 137. I hadn't lost a match there, but Bob Siddens calls me up and says. We got a guy that's I think he's won the nationals last year at that weight at 137, and that was used to be your teammate when you were a sophomore. He was a senior at West Waterloo here. He goes, "I'd like to see 2 national champs."
Really?
Yeah, that's what he said. This was all year. I mean, I wrestled that weight all year until the Big Tens, the Big Eights, and so I cut down. And I said, well, let me check my weight after practice the next day. So I weighed 137 after practice, and I called him up and I said, I think I can probably make it.
Wow.
But I barely made it. Just because it was the first time down, and I think I came in the morning of the national tournament at 131. So I had to lose a pound. I figured I could lose it pretty easy. I think it took me 2 hours to lose that pound. So, but then it was okay because the national tournament, that was probably the Big Eights. But actually, it was the national tournament where I I didn't almost miss weight, but it was close.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so Bob Siddens, that's how much respect I had for him.
Yeah.
And we had Dale Anderson won from Michigan State. He actually went to Iowa State as a freshman and didn't like the workouts. You roll the ball out and beat the hell out of each other. He's used to Bob Siddens type of workouts more.
Yeah.
And so he went up to Michigan State and I think he fit in a lot better up there.
Yeah.
Because he needed somebody driving him and pushing him and that type of stuff. Whereas I was pretty much a self-driver. And then with my self-driving, I ended up being a team captain my sophomore year. I wasn't the first a couple weeks they had, because I don't know how exactly they picked. I think the team voted, but I wasn't probably. I was a sophomore, and so I was my first year varsity, and I was there as a freshman. But they picked 2 seniors to be the tournament. But we didn't start out so good that year. And I remember after the first couple matches, Coach Nichols talking to the team and saying, "I think we're going to have another captain." And him, because I was already started out really well, and I had a year and about 2 months of influence. And Coach Nichols liked what he saw, and the team didn't disagree. So instead of having just 2 captains, we had 3. Yeah. And so that helped.
Pretty good choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can't mention your Iowa State days without mentioning obviously the Larry Owings stuff. I know when we were here earlier, about a month ago, with the group that we kind of toured your house out here, and for those that are listening, we're out here and coaches. This is like the coolest cabin ever. Sauna, workout room. This is the best thing. But the friends of mine that I brought here were so impressed, and they were just so like in awe of the stories that, not necessarily, just the actual match, but, the stuff leading up to the match, but also how, it basically really helped you refocus, and you've done this on multiple occasions, on multiple interviews and stuff, where it kind of really, you kind of accredited, I probably wouldn't be a world and Olympic champion if it wasn't for that particular, match.
I think I would have, but
Yeah.
I might only won by one point
you
or
would've
2.
dominated.
Yeah. So that really made the difference. And when you're, when it can go either way, it can go either way. I didn't want it to go either way.
Yeah.
So.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. So that loss kind of really helped you kind of refocus. Did it refocus your training, refocus your life, everything?
Yeah, but I needed a slap by my mom, and she did, because I had a guy named Chuck Gene on the team too that was pretty wild and crazy guy, and he was, he liked me a lot, but he was trying to get me to follow him a little bit more after the season was over, and my mom was trying to get a hold of me, and she couldn't get a hold of me. Well, she could have, but I just was not in the mood. Or if I got on the phone with her, there was no voice coming out of me. I couldn't talk to her. I just felt I let him down, and obviously she finally figured it out and showed up in my front porch and front steps, and when I opened the door, she gave me a big slap.
Oh, really?
Big slap. And right then, that's what I needed. And I said, "Hi, Mom." Yeah. And I've been waiting for something, because I've been answering the phone for 3 days with you calling, and I could not talk. And you thought I was just being a brat, but I just I couldn't get it out of me.
Yeah.
So right now I'm talking, and that's what I needed.
Yeah.
So I needed a good parental guidance at that particular time, and it was the mom that comes through. My dad probably would have not known how to do that, but moms they have the instinct, and so that worked out pretty well. But Owings, it really taught me as an athlete, but even more, it taught me as a coach that I was going to be. Even though I didn't think about the coaching part, but that national tournament that he won, it was like, I was never alone. I was never warmed up properly. I was always talking to press, and I was just doing my job for the sport. But I probably felt good enough that I could do both. But you kind of, I would say at that level, And especially when you got a kid there that's on the other side of the bracket that feels like he can beat you. Because he felt he could beat me. That's why he went at that weight class. He was, I think he had been maybe up a weight class most of the year, and I was probably up a weight class half of the year too. But he was really out to get me, and he actually had an interview before the tournament started, the day before, or even 2 days before, and he said, "I'm here to beat Dan Gable," and that's before the tournament started. And so that was the headline.
Wow.
The on Thursday morning of the national tournament, and of course, my teammates saw that headline. It was in the Chicago Tribune, and you don't usually make headlines for wrestling in the Chicago Tribune, but I seem to draw the attention, and this kid draw even greater attention.
I guess so.
And so one of my teammates said, "Did you read this?" I said, all of a sudden I looked, I said, "What is it?" He said, "Oh, this kid's here to be, he says he's going to beat you." And I said, "I don't want to read it."
Yeah.
So but the guy threw it on my bed. So I read it like an idiot. I should have never read it. But, I was already distracted enough. But, I didn't even know I had wrestled him earlier back in my career as a freshman, probably.
Oh.
Maybe a sophomore. I don't
really?
even know. I'm trying to think. Probably, yeah. But it was in a freestyle tournament, and I think it was in the Olympic trials or something back in '68. And I had beaten him, fairly handily. I don't know how many points, 8 or 9 points, but something like that or more. But he was really young then. So I did read it. That was a mistake, and he had a good record and so on and so forth. But anyway, he was ready to go. I wasn't, and because he was ready to go and I wasn't ready to go, that made a default to where you just aren't as good as you normally are, and he got a few calls. That could have went either way, which that happens all the time too. So what the heck? But I just wasn't ready for a match that was going to tax me.
Right.
Usually, I was in control all the matches, and usually I was armbar. In fact, I think I had almost. I mean, the matches were, I think. 3, 2, 2. I think they were 7 minutes. 7 minutes at that time. I think I had 4:30 of riding time on it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But no back points.
Really?
I never. If I rode somebody for 4:30, I have the tech, I'd have
probably pinning them.
I would have pinned him. But I would have had lots of back points.
Yeah.
Lots of back points.
Wow.
And he was flexible in the shoulders, and I learned how to. Actually, from him, I learned how to turn people that are flexible in the shoulders.
Oh.
Yeah. But I waited too late
Yeah.
to learn. And the fact that he had a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And I got tired in that match. But I didn't know it really until the end of the match was over. But I've been tired before in matches, but I never knew it either. But I always won. So anyway, came down to the referee's call, and it was a tough match. And he beat me, 13-11. So I would say that with that match and then a good mother slap.
Then it was
I got
look out world.
I says, I gotta learn a few things in this sport.
Yeah.
Most of them was finishing takedowns.
Oh yeah.
Getting in, cutting corners, not making takedowns difficult.
Oh, interesting.
So I really worked on that, and that really helped me to where it was like it wasn't really a struggle to get a takedown because you knew how to get the takedown completely all the way through in one move instead of 2 moves or something like that. A lot of people shoot, they grab a leg, hang on to the leg, they pull the weight on you. got to keep away from the weight. You got to cut the corner, and you got to set it up right, and that type of stuff. And that's what you need when you're going to be a world champion, Olympic champion. And if you're going to dominate, especially, you have to be able to have those fine technical points about finishes. And most people, don't think about it, how improving on your skills and technique, especially when you're winning a lot. But there's a lot there. You got to make wrestling as easy as you can in terms of the tacticals and the techniques, because it's like see somebody's pushing hard on you, and they gotta say they come over in a front headlock, and you duck them, and they fall in their face. I mean, that's an easy takedown.
Yeah.
Well, most takedowns are leg tackles. A lot of them are, or a fireman's carry or whatever. And you got to be completely 180 degrees when you shoot, and then it's a lot easier to score. And then you're not even done then. When you're on behind them, you still got to pick them up and keep the weight on. You don't want any weight on you in wrestling. And that's hard to believe. And that's why I think I could probably wrestle Chris Taylor during those years, because that's when I learned the skills of staying away from people's weight.
Yeah.
And with that in mind, I could take Chris Taylor down.
Yeah.
Not very often.
That'd probably be a pretty good.
450.
That's probably.
You don't want to get
if you're going to learn
squashed.
how to stay away from weight, that would probably be the one.
Exactly. Well, he broke my ribs too when before I stayed away from some weight. But it wasn't from a takedown; it was from underneath. So he was already on top of me. Because I was beating him on his feet one day, and he goes, "Gable, you think you're so good? Why don't you go underneath me and see how you do?" I thought about it. Okay. Yeah, I took the challenge. I shouldn't have. The rib got broken immediately.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
And but the thing was, back in those days, you just kind of went to. You didn't really know that you had an injury when you. And so I end up the next day probably having a hard time wrestling, but by the weekend was up, I remember I wrestled in the Chattanooga Open. And I kicked butt every match because they blew the whistle and I didn't feel the pain.
Yeah.
But the pain was there before they blew the whistle.
Oh.
But when you're focused, you're focused, and you don't really. You can get away with some injuries, not all injuries.
Right.
But that little cracked rib didn't. It's there today, right now, still. It's
my buddy's son was here that day, and you're like, "Hey, feel my rib."
Oh
he was
God.
like,
"Yeah, it's big. It's got a lot of calcium."
Yeah. I mean, my boy Mike Kaplan and his son George. George was like feeling. He's like, "What is this?"
It sticks out. Yeah.
That was funny.
As a Chris Taylor, because I started underneath him.
Yeah.
Usually I could take him down once in a while, and he couldn't get up because I'd armbar him.
Yeah.
And he had 450 pounds on him, and then I was on top of him, so that's 600 pounds that he had to get up. Yeah. So.
Well, I mean, obviously, not only with dealing with the pain and dealing with everything. I mean, you started your run after that. As soon as you got out of Iowa State, then it was. I mean, the Russians had a bullseye on you, and everybody and their brother. I know when we came here last month, you took our group through the house and just were talking about different stories with the medals that you have down, and the World Championships medal, the Olympic gold, that's hanging up in there, and it's just, it was such an interesting time as far as like this whole Soviet country having it out just for one person in the world and one person only.
Well, I'm sure they had it out for more, but
you were like the main one.
Well, and they're winning in wrestling. I mean, they're dominating, and I think at one time they got in late to the World Championships in wrestling, but once they got in, I think they won like out of 60, won 56 in a row, or not in a row, but 56 out of 60 championships. And they actually aren't in the World Championships right now and can't score points just because of Putin and what's going on there. And Iran's down now too, and they're killing people in Iran. And we do have a president though that's trying to help those countries to become more of a democratic type of system instead of communist types of system. And I think a lot of people really want that. And so, but back in the day, I when I was training in my basement in my hometown, and actually my daughter Annie has it in her house right now. But I had a big poster that said "Beat the Russians" on the wall.
Really?
Yeah, beat the Russians, and they vowed that year to beat me by the Olympic Games. It was
because you won the Tbilisi, and then
Yeah.
then they said,
Right.
that's it, we ain't having this anymore.
no, they just said you're disgracing us.
Yeah. Because the Russians kind of celebrated you. I mean, again, they give you like a big bear.
They gave me a big
coat.
bear cape.
Bear cape?
Well, it was like like they skinned it, and but it was.
And this would have been in 70.
70.
70.
Actually, this would have been
71.
70 January or early February of 72.
Okay, so that was right before. Okay, before the 72 games.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
what was that like, having a bullseye on your head for the Soviet Union?
oh, it just made me get more dedicated.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I came home and I found out they're coming to get me, I said, well, what can I do to get a little better? I can learn to cut the corner a little bit better. I don't have to pull that leg in. I can cut the corner. You can fall on your head. And I can stay less distracted. If I go to competitions and people want to interview me, I'll say, yeah, after the match, I'll definitely give you the time. But, not before the match, unless it's, maybe a couple of days before you go to a press conference or something. But you don't spend a lot of time on that. You spend your time on getting ready for a competition, and then that makes things a lot better, because you lose that edge, or if you don't have that edge, it's difficult. To each their own, and that's why I became a good coach, just like you. You didn't leave here. You stayed the whole time, and you had some great people in front of you, and that doesn't mean you didn't go to practice and want to beat them or try to beat them, but they were doing really well, and you were part of a lot of success, which is also. Maybe that's one of the reasons why you do what you do. You've learned to probably be pretty good at different things, because you seem like you have. We're sitting here doing this podcast, and it's pretty amazing that you're doing a podcast. I mean, I would never known,
Me either. I just decided to do it about a month ago. Some friends of mine said, "Hey, you should do a podcast. You got way too many friends in the sport, in that
I know,
too many interesting. You should do it."
Yeah. So what do you have to do? Get supporters behind your podcast?
Nah, I just said, I'll just go ahead and just start it.
I know, but where does the money come from? I mean, you look at the stuff you got here.
For me,
you had to. I mean, you don't make money doing podcasts. You could.
No,
you could.
you know what? If I make some money doing it, cool. If I don't, it's fun for me. The investment was, it was a little bit of investment, with some equipment.
Yeah, but you've been working your whole life, right?
Yeah, I mean,
you've had a lot of jobs, haven't you?
I'm single, no kids. What am I going to spend it on? I'm going to sit down and talk to my buddies, talk to my old coach.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool. So
Yeah.
so that's plus we have like a lot of I was telling Tom this morning, that a lot of the people that I'm interviewing, this was before the whole social media boom. They didn't have, nobody knows. I just interviewed Nate Carr yesterday. What an amazing story he has. He has a really, really great stories about when him and Kenny Monday used to compete in the national finals against each other, and then they end up training. Just all that stuff. There was no social media back then. Nobody knows that stuff.
No.
So now, it's like we have so many, not only just cool stories, but great people in our sport that have never sat down in a long form. You sat down on Joe Rogan. You were in Joe Rogan for 2 hours, but not everybody's invited on Joe Rogan. So you can't just sit down and listen to a guy's story for 2 hours. Like I'm interviewing Lee Kemp on Thursday, and I'm really looking forward to it. I've known Lee for years.
Where's he at?
He's in California.
I thought so too, yeah.
Yep. So so I'm looking forward to sitting down with him, and then there's probably a lot of people that don't know his story. He's got a great story. He's a great person. So it's really cool.
Yeah, he got really hurt when the Olympics got and I think it affected him negatively for a while, and he's worked through it. I think I don't know, maybe not. I don't know if you ever do work through those things. When something is when a guy like Owings beats you, you never get over it, but you get on and you get better. But sometimes some people can't do that. It holds them back.
Yeah.
And from him, it'd be interesting to see it was just how much it did hold him back,
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna find out Thursday.
yeah.
So like I said, but that's fun.
Yeah, he gives me a lot of credit.
Yeah.
He
Oh
gives
yeah.
me a lot of
Absolutely.
credit.
No,
yeah.
I mean,
I
yeah.
coached him in those world championships. Yeah.
Now he was quite a wrestler. He was pretty good.
Well, he
Who's the best international wrestler? I mean, like obviously the Russians had a bullseye. I mean, we can circle back to this, whatever. But they had a bullseye in you. But who's like the one that you remember internationally? I mean, it could be whatever. It could have been for Russia, it could have been for Iran, but it could be the United States. That you're like, what, this guy's really good. Obviously you probably beat him, but at the same time, he's good. He's really good.
Yeah, I think it's probably two Russians that I wrestled. They both end up being world champions, and I had just battles with them. I mean, we might have wrestled 9 minutes, and I might have won 2-1.
Oh wow!
Or tied 1-1 once.
Wow!
Yeah, and then there's another. That was Nazruliev. Nazrulai. He had a first name and a last name, pretty much the same.
Oh really?
Yeah. Nazruliev or
Wow.
something like that. And then I had another one named in the Azruliev, and he was the Olympic finals. He ended up winning the world's upper weight. He was actually a bigger guy, and they cut him down. But then he went back up, and he won the world title up there. What's really amazing to me is when I started coaching, and I took teams overseas right away, that after one of the matches where in the Worlds where this Nazruliev guy, Nazrulayev, that's his name, but because I wrestled him how many times? I wrestled him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, I think 5 or 6, and he when he didn't have to wrestle me in the finals, or he wrestled me in the finals of the tournament in Russia, but Tbilisi, but they sent somebody else to the Worlds that year just because I had beaten him 4 times, I think, but it was always close, and so then when I stepped down, he won the Worlds, and when he got done, because I was coaching the American, he beat Lloyd Keyser in the finals, I believe. When I got done with the match, he come over to me to, shake my hand, but then he sat down right in front of me on the mat, took his shoes off, and gave me his shoes.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I think they're up in a museum up in Waterloo, Iowa, right now.
Really?
The Gable Museum, yeah. And they were Russian type shoes. They weren't, they were like moccasins. But
Wow.
But that's how much they respected me over there in Russia. So anyway, because he could have been mad at me, but
Yeah.
But once I was out of the weight class, I was
He's all right.
coaching. He honored me.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's funny like some of these international because I know you wrestled the Iron Sheik.
Yeah,
from Iran.
up in Minneapolis.
Minneapolis, right?
Yeah, he came over and wanted to see what I was made of because
Iron Sheik, for those of you who don't know, I mean, if you're not a pro wrestling fan, and if you are a pro wrestling fan, everyone knows who the Iron Sheik was. But back in the day, he was so popular. But he was a professional wrestler. Coach
and he
Gable
showed up at one of my practices and wanted because he was a good amateur wrestler too.
He's good.
Yeah, and so he just wrestled me for about 30, 40 seconds and said, stop. That's all he wanted. He just wanted to feel that.
So you didn't wrestle him in a match. You just wrestled him in that match. Yeah, okay.
No, he's big.
Yeah.
No, he wouldn't be my weight class. No, he was a big kid.
I don't know if you remember this, Coach, but in 1996, we all went down to watch Tom wrestle in Atlanta, and we were sitting in the stands, and there was this huge line of people like on the other side of the arena, and it was a bunch of kids that were wanting to get their autograph from the Iron Sheik.
Yeah.
He was on the other side.
Oh,
and so
yeah.
we were all sitting, it was me and you and the rest of the team, and we were sitting out there, just, we were just waiting for the matches to come up or whatever. And I was like, Gable, didn't you wrestle him back in the day? And you're like, yeah, I wrestled him, in Minneapolis. We,
sparred a little bit.
Whatever. I go, didn't he beat you? And you looked at me, and I was like, and he's like, no, he didn't beat me. I was like, listen, I just remember him watching him because he was, I love pro wrestling. He was on TV. I beat so-and-so. I beat Dan Gable.
Well, he had to say that.
I know.
I mean, that was he said that before he even wrestled me. He wouldn't say it after he wrestled me.
So I told you that, and you were like, oh, he didn't beat me. I go, Coach, I'm just saying what he was saying on TV. And you literally got up, walked to the other side of the arena, and like skipped this whole line of these guys that were like trying to get his autograph. And he sat down and he was like, hey, coach. So he was literally like sitting you down right by him. And then he was like, yeah. And then we could all, because like our whole team was like, what's Gable going to say to him? So you were over there, you're like, now listen, and you were like pointing the finger at him, and he's like, oh, no. I was just saying, it was so funny. You didn't like even get, you were like, oh, I'm going to fix this right now.
Well, I don't mind it, but when you're saying stuff like that, wow, it was pretty competitive.
It was exactly. It was so funny. Our whole team, we were just laughing. And they're like, Hatcher, what'd you say? I'm like, listen, I just said that when I was watching one of the episodes or whatever, that he said he beat Coach Gable, and they're like, oh shoot! Like we were like, oh, gotta see what he's at. So it's funny.
Well, that's why they're pro wrestlers.
I know.
They can say whatever they want to say.
Yeah, it's so funny though. Yeah. It was hilarious.
Yeah, he was good. Actually, he's a pretty nice guy.
Yeah,
it turned out to be a nice guy.
Yeah,
because I think we went out to dinner that night at Vern Gagne's place, and he was kind of in charge of all the pro wrestlers up in that area. Mm-hmm. And I think he was at that house, and so we got to be a little more social with him that night. So, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Looking back at all those Iowa teams, what were some? Because I remember our practice. I mean, like you said, it was really like almost kind of Harold Nichols like, where we just, people ask me all the time, how intense, was he yelling and screaming at practice? I'm like, really, honestly, no. He just kind of said, okay.
Towards the end of practice.
Yeah, towards the end of practice, he'd step in. Yeah, you step in and then put the conditioning. I said, really, honestly, you just say, okay, go. And then we had a unwritten rule that, we just, the first one that gets a drink kind of looks kind of soft. And that's just the way it worked. And so, yeah, but you would always sit on the bleachers, and you had some boosters come in every now and then. We had teams coming in and whatever, watching practice. What were some epic battles in the room that you remember watching? Like, okay, these guys are scrapping. What were some really fun ones?
Well, first, before I go there, when I was at Iowa State training, because they throw the ball out and let you go, I remember I had a time. When I go out there, once I start wrestling tough, there's no way I'm going to stop unless I've got at least this amount of time done. And my figure was 22 minutes.
Oh.
Yeah. I could go longer, but I couldn't. That first go couldn't be any shorter than 22 minutes. So you think about it's like 3 matches.
True.
In a row. And obviously I went longer sometimes just because I get a guy down and just armbar him for 30 minutes. So, but you don't have, all the weight's on them and you're not really getting tired. You're just a little bit tired. Yeah. Actually, after about 11 minutes of it, they probably just roll over.
I did. Don't
admit
Coach,
that to me now.
Oh, Coach, no, I'm sorry right now. I mean, seriously. People ask me all the time what it was like wrestling with Tom and Terry Brands, and I was like, shoot. Listen, in the summertime, I used to wrestle Tom one day, Terry the next, because I lived in Cedar Rapids. So I'd help him get ready, whatever. I said, but I would wrestle them any day of the week, twice on Sunday before I wrestled Coach Gable. And for some reason, Coach Gable, I was at the right size, right skill level at the time because he had 2 bad hips at the time, and he just liked wrestling me. And it was like every practice, it was 3 or 4 times a week that I would. And I remember the first time I wrestled you, and I actually tried really hard.
You did?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that.
And my arm was right behind my back for probably 20 minutes, and then the other one behind my back for another 20 minutes. And I remember getting in the shower, and I could barely lift my arms. I was like, this is the most miserable experiences I've ever had. And then so I kept trying to like 3, 4. And then after that, I was like, you know what? This is it. I'm not getting any ROI on this. I'm getting nothing but really super tired. And that's just, but then I talked to like the other guys in the team that were even bigger than me. And they're like, dude, I felt the same way. It was the same way from like, I wrestled 34. And I was talking to 67, 77 pounders. I'm like, man. And I remember one day you were wrestling with Tom, Terry, and Travis Pfisner for some, I don't know how it was. It was the three of them. And they were like literally rotating parterring on you. And you were I was like, okay, I don't feel too bad now. Now I feel a little bit better.
Well, parterre's down on the mat.
I know.
You got to explain that to the listeners out there. They might not know that name.
I know, but still, I mean, it was just like, my goodness, what an experience.
Well, you know what? The rules are you got to be good on your feet. You got to be good on the bottom.
Yeah.
But I was really good on top too.
Yeah.
So I, once I actually realized that I don't have to be on top of you all the time, that I should be working on these other two areas, I even got better.
Yeah.
Yes, because I was missing a little bit, and that was kind of besides the cutting the corner and the skill part that I added on. I added on that making sure that you just didn't stay on top of somebody all the time, because you're not learning how to cut the corner and you're not learning how to get that set up, and so you got to be smart too. Yeah.
Well, I did learn a lot about near wrist and arm bars.
Near wrists that's where Dale Barr really helped me.
That's where
back in
I learned a lot
Iowa
about
Falls, near wrist, because he had a heck of a near wrist.
Yeah.
In fact, he rode me for a long time, but most guys would just let him ride him. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't let him ride me with that near wrist. So he had to work to even keep my wrist. Wow. So that's why it gave him a better workout. Gotcha. Because most guys, when they get near wrist and they can't move them, they just kind of like stay there and whatever happens. I learned how to get out of that near wrist. I really call it kind of swimming. When a guy gets it, you swim out of it. You kind of pull, you come back into him, and you get the weight off of you that's on you, and his weight's going off backwards, and you get a lot less power with that near wrist. So I could swim that arm out, and then when I would get that, I would go back with the other one on the other side. If you get that one and swim that arm out, you got to. It's not easy, but nothing wrestling is easy. So.
Yeah, well, I wish I'd learned that counter a long time ago.
Well, you probably wouldn't have got out on me anyway.
Probably not.
Because I was too good at it.
A funny story is when we were wrestling one time. I mean, and again, I've never shied away like from what my role in the team was. I was a backup, and I loved being the backup. I loved it, whatever. But I was also very social, and I social coordinator. So I mean, we always had teams come in to Iowa, like other sports teams. The football team would come in, the track team would come in, people just because they were just in awe of like our practices. So one time we had one of the women's teams come in, either field hockey team or track team or tennis team, a bunch of really attractive, girls coming in, watching practice. And of course, you said, Asher, come here, let's warm up. That was always cue for like, okay, we're going to wrestle. So sure enough, you and I were wrestling during the practice, and not only are these girls in the stands like see me get my ass whooped, but you start going, you have me on my back pinning me. And
I was looking at the girls.
You were like, Mena, you got to work harder over there. You're coaching guys while you're holding me on my back. And I'm like, what is this? What are we doing here? So in the sauna afterwards, I was like, Coach, listen, man, I enjoy wrestling you. It's awesome. It teaches me a lot. But at the end of the day, when the women's team's coming in here, you can go ahead and whoop me as bad, but you don't start coaching other people. That's not good. That's not good for my street cred when we're trying to set up the social stuff. Wow. So I remember that vividly. I was like, what is he doing? I mean, come on. But then you know what? Then you helped me out though. Like about a couple of weeks later, you remember you had that old sweatshirt, that old yellow sweatshirt. Yeah. Like that you used to wear. You had that and that old Mountain Dew sweatshirt. Yeah. So we were at this all athlete like assembly, and all the athletes wanted to come hear you talk. And so you like opened up, say, well, I wanted to dress in my just regular clothes, but I had this, and I got this big rip here. I had your rip the other day, and I was like, now there we go. Now we're talking.
Yeah. I can't remember. I'll tell you what you're teaching me today. That you're a good learner. No, and if all the kids that have been through the system learn stuff like that, it's good for them. Yeah. So it's a lot of coaches probably just coach it. They don't think about that stuff. But you're sending people out all over wherever they're going to go. And a lot of it's going to be based on what you did with them. If you're their coach, especially in a college situation, even more in high school too, because maybe you might not go to college, you know, that type of thing. So, it's coaches can do a lot.
Yeah.
Coaches can do a lot. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But,
and you've been a coach too.
Yeah. I mean,
many times.
Yeah. I mean, it was cool because, I remember, when we were kind of mapping out my future, and I've always, especially when I first graduated, I'd always call you and you'd always give me really, really good guidance and help. And, just kind of, really mentor and just help me with certain decisions. I mentioned the Florida one earlier, but you were like really, really adamant about me being a coach. You're like, you're going to be a really good coach. You're going to be a much better coach than you were, were an athlete. And I was like, how to take that. I was like, does that mean I'm not very good wrestler? No. Or am I just going to be a good coach? But I took it as I would be a good coach. So because I took that from you. So, but yeah, no, it was great having your blessing to that. And like that. And that's what I wanted to say the last couple of years. I mean, you talked to me about, certain situations, some people calling and wondered if I'd be interested. And I'm like, you know what? No, I really love it here. I love being a part of Coach Gable's program. I mean, and it's just like everybody, people have said this, have asked me this in the past too, as far as being a backup at Iowa. Because obviously, the starters, I mean, especially towards the end of the year, I mean, all the attention's towards them, and then as well it should be. But I was like, you know what? I mean, I was a backup for 4.5 years, and everybody in the team, I think, thinks that they have a special relationship with Coach Gable. It was really, I mean, it was like randomly on a Friday night, you'd say, hey, what are you doing? Let's go to, you're Cedar Rapids boy. Let's go. We're going to go to Linn-Mar and watch a football game. Iowa City High. I was like, okay, let's go. So, I mean, it's just something like that. I mean, that stuff like that, you were the master at making sure that everybody felt a part of the program.
Well, I think it was just more natural, just kind of the way I was brought up. But you said something earlier, and I'm going to disagree with you a little bit.
What's that?
Oh, well, you said you loved being a backup.
Oh,
don't ever admit to me. Why you say that to me?
No,
because I don't want nobody to be a backup. If I'm the coach, I don't want anybody settling in a backup position. I want him to go out there and kick some butt and get that other guy as a backup. And then he'll get mad, and then they'll get mad, and that's how your team gets better.
Nothing but chewing from Coach Gable. No, I love being in Coach Gable's program, and I didn't love being a backup.
Well, you said that.
I know, but I stand corrected. I said it wasn't awesome being a backup, but I loved being in the Iowa wrestling program. How's that?
I like that a lot better.
I revise that.
I like that a lot better because let me tell you, I got a few calls from a lot of moms.
Yeah.
I said few and a lot. Yeah. But usually they were moms.
Yeah.
And sometimes there was dads too, but usually the moms called, and they weren't real happy with people with them being in backups. Yeah. And I like that. Yeah. Competitive parents that want their kids to be in that lineup, and not that they have to be, because if they get beat in a tryout or something and that type of thing, and that happens. But they're always looking out for their kid. Yeah. And that they should be. Yeah. They should be. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. So the current state, like now, of college wrestling, how would you approach this whole NILs, transfer portal? How would you navigate this? We'll go kind of into this one.
You're asking me something that I would have to just be so more familiar with. Mm-hmm. Then I would have a better idea. But I do know that I would not like kids going to practice only because they're making money.
Yeah.
It's like you say you don't like a job. Say you don't like the wrestling that much, but you're still making good money and you're going to do it. Mm-hmm. I would not like that. I want them to go to practice because they want to be there. They love to be there. And it's hard work, but if it's only money, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to fall behind because the system is based on money. So, I may not want to do that part unless I had to somewhat, but I would get somebody on my staff that they love to do that. Mm-hmm. They love to talk to people about contributions and making the program better because of you. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the head coach might have to go out there to really make the deal. Mm-hmm. But most of my job's still going to be with the athletes, because you can't tell me that Penn State right now knows how to wrestle really well because the guy's making a lot of money.
Right.
they're learning in that practice room. Good setups,
Great point.
good defense, unbelievable defense, good takedowns, good basics takedowns. I mean, like leg tackles and stuff like that. And because of that, they're putting the time and the effort in. And when you take that effort and time and love out of what you're doing just for money, you're not going to be that good a wrestler, and you're not going to be there that long. So you, as a coach right now, you have to jump aboard what's taking place. And if you don't like it, you can speak out and you can talk, but you got to spend the time on what is best for you at that particular moment, unless it's just totally wrong. And I'm not saying this might be totally wrong because people aren't going to like it. It's like an investment. You won't invest again if you lose a lot in that area. Or the fact that the kid might not ever go where he's going to go because he needs a better attitude on the mat. He needs to learn how to wrestle better. And you don't learn how to wrestle better just because you got a pocket full of money. You just don't. You got to put the time in. It's not just, you can't be born into this world and be a great wrestler without training and good training. And so it's one of these things that right now, I would probably get somebody that loves to do that type of work, keep up with what's taking place currently. Try, if it's not as good as you want it to be, as far as good for people, then you try to get things changed to make it better for the whole sport, or for all sports, or for all athletic departments. Because I mean, when somebody tells me there's a something going to Congress that's trying to but trying to get or to the NCAA, trying to get 15 mandatory sports or 16 mandatory sports in a Division I program down to 8. I mean, that's serious.
Yeah.
Drops.
Yeah. That's not good.
Yeah, that's not good. So, we're baseball. I'm into baseball right now. So baseball's got 330 D1 programs, give or take a few, and wrestling has maybe 85. And with this money thing, D1 could drop down to 30 if we don't get this straightened out. So we could lose 55 more programs. That doesn't mean we're going to lose our sport, but you're going to have so much less kids go from high school to college, and then you're going to have that much less of an opportunity to have the sport. Now, it's not going to hurt, I guess, because I don't think D2s, D3s, and NAIAs are really into this as much as D1s are. But they could be.
Yeah.
Eventually. It could seep down to there.
Good.
So why don't you stop it when you can, but you don't want to fall behind.
Right.
And if you fall behind, you probably lose your job. Yeah. That's just the way it is.
Very true.
Or they'll drop the program right now easier.
That's true.
Yeah, so.
That's true.
I mean, we're trying to fight a program out, not trying to fight, we're trying to figure out how to keep, was it Bakersfield?
Yeah, Cal Baptist.
Cal Baptist.
Yeah.
So, it's something that shouldn't be a worry of a kid.
Yeah.
And so we got to make our sport that much stronger. And if this makes our sport stronger, great. But if it cuts it down to 20 D1 programs, that's not stronger. So, so you got to work with the system till you can make it, and work on making it better.
Yeah.
Work on
Very
making
much.
it better. Yeah.
Good.
I mean, it's like everything else. Did you ever get married?
No.
See, you never got married.
No. Well, wait, once. I'm sorry, once.
Oh.
1 year. 1 year.
Oh, well.
Just 1 year.
Yeah, you got to count that, right?
Yeah, I counted. She's a great person. It is what it is.
No,
some things happen. Some things work better. I'm probably better off to do that later in my life. But
it's like anything else. It takes a lot of work to stay married, probably.
Oh, yeah.
It takes a lot of work to to have a good wrestling program. It takes a lot of good work to have a football program. And you want a lot of support behind you as well. And the more you have, the better. And so if you have a system that is kind of broken a little bit and heading in different directions, the chance of staying married is probably pretty slim.
Yeah.
I mean, and so you hope that the system is good, and so you gotta, if you love the sport of wrestling, you don't want to see it go in a different direction negatively. So that's the way it is. It's life, and you can't give up your own values if you got good values.
Yeah.
If they're not good, then you can give them up.
That's true.
And I've had to do that a few times in my career, but it's I look at it like once every 7 or 8 years or 9 years, I get off the track a little bit. But that was when I was younger.
Yeah.
Now it's I'm never off track now.
There you go.
I mean, I'm settled pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, 52 years marriage, and then 14 grandkids, and
It's awesome.
so I pretty much missed my 4 daughters when I was growing up.
Yeah.
I mean, they were there seeing me and what I did, but I probably could have done a little bit better. But mostly, I think it's us guys that have gone through and done pretty well. You can have that good time with your grandkids. So
For sure.
so that's what I'm doing right now.
That's awesome.
Yep, I'm here everywhere.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. I got one more question. What was more rewarding? I'll just say this versus this: winning gold medal in 1972, or coaching coaching your athletes to their gold medals.
Oh, it's always coaching.
Yeah.
Your athletes. I mean, for me, I loved it because I felt I kept my family together. I mean, I think they were going to, by the time I wrestled in the Olympics, it was probably, they were on their way to making it, make sure that they would stay together. But, you do things for certain reasons. And I continued to coach and as a profession, and my family still followed me, and so then I kept them together a little bit more than it would as if nobody was making accomplishments. I mean, there was a lot going on with Iowa wrestling, and they had a ball. They had a ball with me as a kid, and then they had a tragedy in my life when my sister was murdered when I was 15 and she was 19, and it just didn't look like the family was going to make it, and I feared that. I feared that, and part of the reasons you do something for certain reasons, and part of it is for reasons that are good, like holding your family together, and it's the same way. But and my mom and dad lived and died together. Actually, my mom died a little bit before my dad because she probably smoked a little bit more than my dad did for years. But and that type of stuff. I have 14 grandkids now. Had 4 daughters, 4. They have husbands, and they're all doing real well.
Awesome.
So that's the kind of stuff that I love right now. In fact, I'm going to a baseball game today to watch my oldest grandkid, Gable.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
That's great.
The oldest grandkid's named Gable. So did that daughter like you?
Yeah.
Hell yes. Okay, the second oldest grandkid named Danny. Did that daughter like you? Hell yes.
Well, there we go. You did something.
Yeah.
You did something there. Made an impact.
Well, almost all the kids have somebody's name now.
I love it.
But
That's
the first 2, that was pretty amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, one's
That's
at Butler playing baseball, and the other is at Iowa City here. Now, I do catch a little hell if I don't spend and spread the time out. But I kind of spread that most of the time with the older ones,
Yeah.
as much as I can, just because And he's playing at Iowa, so it's easier to go here than it is to drive 7 hours. But I'm used to it. You gotta do a little bit. My wife is on top of those things pretty good, Kathy, and if it wasn't for her, I'd probably fall off the cliff there a little bit, just because I don't pay as much attention to that as I should. Yeah. But I get reminded too.
No, but man, it's great to see you so happy. And Coach, thank you so much for your time and sitting down. And I've been really looking forward to this. And not only this, thank you for doing the podcast, but I mean, just thank you for the impact that you've made on my life. I mean, just how you've shaped me and just the decision and which is a whole other story that I could get into as far as how I decided to wrestle here in Iowa. That was literally the best decision I've ever made in my life. And you have been just a monster impact, not only on me, but on the thousands and thousands of kids that you've coached. And like I said, I really, really appreciate your time.
Well, it's pretty amazing because, like you said, you had to beat Ironside out. You had to beat the Brands out. Zadok. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I guess 3 of them are world champions. And the other is probably would have been if he'd stuck out at that level. Yeah.
I would have.
So that's pretty amazing.
Awesome.
So this is a good time.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Coach, thanks again.
Yep.
Much appreciated.
Yep.